Yikes.
Pick up the phone and start dialing.
Speaking words. They will make you richer. The most powerful CEO in the United States of America.
I have a deal that I'm supposed to go meet the guy on Saturday. The house is, I guess, probably over leveraged, maybe about a good $15,000 to $20,000.
What's the value?
Probably 120. He has a mortgage for 140. That's what he told me,
Okay.
and he wants to give it to me.
Okay. What? Hashtag free houses.
That's what he said. He said he doesn't want. I mean, he literally told me he doesn't want to make any money. He just want to, he wants me to take over the mortgage, but I don't think that's going to. Well, I can take it over, but I can't legally take it over. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, what he wants to sign the deed over to you and make this a subject to kind of thing. Is that what you mean?
That's what I'm going to work for. But he was on the phone telling me, he want me to contact the bank and let them know that I'm a be in charge of the mortgage payment and everything.
Okay.
Like that.
Okay. Brother. Hey, come here. I got, come here. Take a look at this. I got what you need. Let's jump into sandwich lease options here. We got about 25 minutes or 20 or something. Yeah. Let's dive into sandwich lease options. I want to share screens with you here and talk about paperwork tonight because paperwork is important. I think it's amazing that I have students that follow my content like all the time, every day, and they are working. If you ask them, they're working on doing their first lease option deal or their first sandwich lease option deal, or maybe their first co-host sale deal, but they've never actually read the paperwork ever. They've never read the paperwork. Yeah. We're not going to read the paperwork tonight, but I'm going to show you how the paperwork works, where to find it. I'm going to put it in the VIP group tonight, so you can find it there after we wrap up here, as well as the subject to stuff for Vernon. But I will put the sandwich lease option paperwork in the VIP club tonight, and this is basically what it is. Okay, what you're going to fill out with the seller. Red here. Lease option, the lease with the option to buy agreement. Okay. Let's talk about something real quick. I want to share screens again in a different way. And before we jump into showing you what these are, showing you the documents, I want to see here. Yeah, here we go. I want to show you this. You guys remember this chart? I used it for the case studies. I'm going to put this chart in the folder that I share with you tonight so that you can use it to analyze some of your lease option deals, okay, like we did in the case studies, to figure out how much profits you'd be making versus, let's say, back-end money. I mean, versus just like assignment money, okay? Now, I'm going to include that, but then I'm also going to include, let's see here, this right here, rules for making great sandwiches. You guys remember us going through the rules? I had them written down. This is a little bit more reader friendly, okay, than what we were working with in the session a couple sessions ago. Okay, so. But I want you to remember something here. Okay. It says right here in number 6 of the sandwiches rules here to use separate lease option agreements. All right. Separate lease and option agreements. All right. Now I'm going to show you this folder again. And in the folder, actually, I keep deleting off of it, clicking off of it, but it's right here. You can see there is All right, here we go. Now I'm at the right place. Number 6, the rules is use 2 separate agreements, a lease agreement and an option agreement, 2 separate ones. Now, you guys know out there in the world, there are agreements that are a combo. There's a lease with an option. It's a combo agreement, so it's all in one agreement. Rule number 6 of making great sandwiches is use separate lease and option agreements, okay? Now, what I'm referring to is with your tenant buyer, okay? With your tenant buyer. Use separate agreements with your tenant buyer. Up here, I have a lease with the option to buy 2-in-1 document. Now, that's what you're going to use with the seller, okay? Let's take a look at it. And let's take a look at the rest of the documents in there as well, all right? All right, so I'm going to click the seller side button here, and it's going to pop up. Lease with option right here, one document, lease with option. All right, so I'm going to click on it. You can see what it looks like. It's a fill in the blank kind of thing. Okay, residential lease and option to purchase agreements. Okay, the date, you are the tenant buyer. This is between you and the seller. And or assigns, landlord, seller. Okay, that's their information. Homeowners, rent, blank per month, lease, how many months, commencing when, what day, and ending on what day. Maintenance, purchase price, option period. Okay, so this has everything you need. Now remember, there's another rule. Okay, let's talk about this rule. There's another rule, and it is right here. Let me back up. Let's take a look at the rules again. It says right here, number 5, no rent credits. No rent credits. Okay, but what I'm referring to there is mostly for your tenant buyer. Okay, don't use rent credits for your tenant buyer, because you'll see in this particular agreement, there is a place for rent credits. Okay, number 7 down here on this agreement, rent credit. Tenant buyer shall be credited blank per month towards purchase price. This might be a good idea for you when you're using it with your sellers, but don't give your tenant buyers any rent credits. Okay. If you can talk your homeowner into a $50 or $100 rent credit every month, you know how much money that adds up to be in 36 months? Another few $1,000. Okay. That's why this is worth it. All right. So I want to be clear about the rules and the paperwork. Okay. Because it looks like they contradict in those 2 ways, but really what I'm referring to with the rent credits is with the tenant buyer. What I'm referring to with the two separate agreements, the lease and the option agreements, is with the tenant buyer. Okay. Because with the homeowner, I still like to use a lease with option agreement all in one. And I like to get rent credits too, if I can. Okay. Okay. So I hope I'm pretty clear about that without confusing everybody. Does that make sense so far? Everybody's like, what?
That's between you and the tenant, right? Those agreements.
No, that's between me and the homeowner. Okay.
Oh,
So, yeah, let me show you here the whiteboard.
where is that at? That's in the lease option 2.0.
Nope. I'm gonna give it to you tonight. I'm gonna put the link in the VIP group
Okay.
on Facebook. And Mag, you're not on Facebook, so I'll have to email you. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. What about if the lease, the one that you just showed me, the lease option agreement memo?
Okay. That's for assignments. That's for assignment lease options. That's in the lease options 2.0 course. Okay. So that's for assignment lease options. This is for sandwiches here.
Okay.
So a whole different set of paperwork. What I was just showing you there is the lease with option to buy agreement, okay, that you will use when you're contracting the deal with the homeowner in a sandwich lease option, okay? So that's the lease with option to buy. Also in that folder is an optional borrower's authorization, okay? What do I mean by that? I'll show it to you right now. And let's go there. Authorization to release information. If you ever find yourself in a situation where, like Vernon is saying, the homeowner wants him to contact the mortgage company, kind of get permission to get information and kind of step in and manage the account, you know, then this is a document that Vernon will want to use. Authorization to release information. Okay. So it was a great example of this tonight when you brought this up. This is something that you'll want to have in your kit just in case you need it. Okay. This is kind of an optional thing. You won't need it every deal, but it is in there. Okay. So there is the optional borrower's authorization. Okay. Now, so that's the lease with the option, and the borrower's optional. That's the optional borrower's authorization. Now, once you have that lease with option filled out, here is a memorandum of option. Okay. What do I mean by memorandum of option? Okay. Do you remember rule number 6 in sandwich rules is to use separate agreements, but file your notice of option at the courthouse? How do you file a notice of option at the courthouse? This document right here. Okay. So when you get the homeowner to sign your sandwich lease with option, you want to go ahead, maybe have them sign the bank authorization, you know, the authorization to talk to the bank, but you also will want them to sign this memorandum of option. Now, this option agreement leaves out all this memorandum of option leaves out all of the private information and numbers that are on the actual option agreement that you just filled out. Okay. All right. It's actually a more standard. It's just a notification that there's an option agreement somewhere out there. Okay. Look at number 1. The above parties have entered into an option agreement dated this. That's coming right off your option agreement there. Your lease with option. Okay. Number 2, this option agreement shall expire on blank. Okay. That's right off of that lease with option. Number 3, all terms and conditions of said agreement are incorporated by this reference if set forth in full. Okay. In other words, what it's saying is number 3 is, without saying everything that option agreement says, this represents that, and this is what we're going to file at the courthouse. Okay. So this is how you file your notice at the courthouse without having all of your private information and the seller and everybody all out on public blast. Okay. This is just a notification. Okay. So you'll need both of these, and you'll want to file this one at the courthouse. Okay. All right. Now, on the offset chance that you get into an agreement with a homeowner and you need to back out, okay, here is an amendment to cancel. Okay. You just fill this out, send it over to the homeowner. Maybe he doesn't want to do the deal anymore. Maybe you don't want to do the deal anymore. For whatever reason, it's not working out. Tenant buyer hasn't moved in yet, all that. You're just like, hey, I got to walk. Okay, then send the amendment, which is a release and cancellation of contract. Okay, send the amendment to cancel. All right, that's if you need one. All right, probably won't need that very often, hopefully, if you're doing things the right way, but you will probably need it at some point in your career. So we have the lease with option. We have the optional borrower's authorization. We have the memorandum of option and agreement, which you file at the courthouse. And then we have an optional amendment to cancel if you need it, if you need to back out. Okay. That pretty much wraps up the seller side. All right. Am I boring you guys to tears? Paperwork is kind of boring, but you'll get there. All right. Embrace the chaos of understanding these papers, because it's really the objective is to get everyone to fill these out in a way that makes them all comfortable. All right. Let's talk about the tenant buyer paperwork. all of what we've talked about so far, you can lump into at the very beginning of the deal. When you're calling the lead, you're getting the homeowner under contract. All that's right up front, okay? Now, with the tenant buyer, we're going to be talking about collecting monthly money, and we're going to be talking about getting that back end money, the equity in the deal, okay? So let's take a look at that folder. And again, like I said, I'm going to share this folder with you so you guys can have this material, look at it yourself, and make any adjustments you want. Keep the good stuff you like, throw away the stuff you don't want. But let's take a look at the tenant buyer side. Tenant buyer side. In it, there is a residential lease agreement. Okay. This is a lease agreement. Now you'll notice there's a separate lease here, and then there's a separate option to purchase here. Two separate agreements. So we're abiding by rule number 6 in rules for making great sandwiches. All right. Residential lease agreement right here. If you don't have a lease agreement in your kit, this is a pretty decent one to throw in your kit. Okay. All right. You'll want to go through here and make sure that you adjust things to fit the situation. Okay. Like, for example, cancellation. If for any reason tenants choose to cancel this agreement prior to taking possession, there will be no refund of any monies received. If you don't like that, you want to give them back some money, then change this. Okay. All right. You can change anything you want in this. This is a lease agreement. It's easily changed. I recommend not changing number 12 here, subletting and assignment. Tenants may not sublet the premises. Keep that the way it's written. Okay. You don't want your tenant buyer and then going ahead and trying to do a lease option deal with your lease option deal. All right. So familiarize yourself with some of these things. If there's anything in here that needs to be changed, maintenance and repairs may need to change. Tenant has inspected the premises and acknowledged that it is in satisfactory condition and accepts said premises in as is condition as suited for the use intended. Okay. Tenant agrees to accept responsibility for all maintenance and repairs of premises as well as all damages that they or their guests may cause. You might want to change this to $250 per month per incident, or per incident per month. Okay. You'll want to edit this. Okay. So there's not going to be one that's going to fit every situation and every deal. You're going to have to get comfortable with changing up some of these clauses and things. Okay. All right. Now, let's slide down here, see if anything else pops out at me. Okay. No, it's just a pretty standard agreement. Pets. If you want pets, if you want to allow pets, you got to change that. Okay. That's a good case in point. Okay. Just know that you can. Okay. This is just a lease agreement. Okay. Now we have that's a separate lease agreement. Now we're talking about for the tenant buyers here. Now we have a separate option agreement. Two agreements. One is a lease, one is an option. Remember, this is rule number 6 in making great sandwiches. The reason why we do this is because if you need to evict your tenant buyer for some reason along the way, it will be much easier to evict them if you're just bringing a lease agreement to court and not a combination document that is a lease with an option. Okay. It'll be much easier, much cleaner if you keep these documents separate. So that's why you saw me just go through a lease agreement. Now we close that one out. We open up this one. This one is an option. So now I'm offering the tenant buyer a lease and an option. Okay. And the option agreement, it's just very, very, very simple. All option agreements are. Okay. This is not a purchase and sale agreement. This is an option to buy or agreement. Okay. So you don't get the two confused. You will need, your tenant buyer will need a purchase and sale agreement when they go to buy at the end. But at the beginning, when you're putting them in place, you're going to need a lease agreement, which we just went through, and then this or an option agreement. Okay. So here we have an option agreement, option to purchase. Okay, during the time period, option period of blank through blank. Okay. Number 2, price, full purchase price. Okay, that will be your marked up price, not the price that you got it at the seller with the seller. That was a different document. This will be for the tenant buyer. So this will be your marked up price. Exercise of option. To exercise the option, buyer should give written notice to the seller as soon as possible during the term of this option agreement. How does he do that? You tell your tenant buyer when you want to buy, when you're ready to buy, just bring me a purchase and sale agreement for the price listed on number 2, and you got a deal. That's it. That's how it works. Okay. Now, the rest of this you can see is pretty standard boilerplate stuff. Okay. Right of assignment, number 10. You'll probably want to change this because you don't want your tenant buyer having the unqualified right to sublet or assign. Okay. I would recommend changing this. All right. Let's see. Anything else that pops out at me? Nope. That's it. Okay. Now there's a couple other documents here I want to share with you, just so you can have them in your toolkit. This is a promissory note. Does anybody remember why we were talking about sometimes needing a promissory note? Anybody want to volunteer that? Let's talk about promissory notes. Why would I need
the tenant buyer doesn't have all the money up front, but
Yeah,
it's paying to you.
Yeah, in case he doesn't have all of the option fee up front, he has half, and I agree to let him make payments to me for the other half. Okay. Then I'm going to set him up on an installment agreement, or I will use a promissory note, which this is what it is right here. Okay. All right. So just so you have a promissory note. Okay. And you can sign it down here at the bottom. Okay. That's where the tenant buyer would sign it, by the way. All right. Now, another document here that you're going to need is an assignment agreement. You will use this only, because this is a sandwich, only at the end of the term when the tenant buyer goes to buy. Yep. That's it. Does anybody understand or want to share with us their understanding of why you use an assignment agreement at the end when your tenant buyer is going to execute their option to purchase? They're going to purchase this house. They got a loan teed up and they're going to buy this property. Why do you need an assignment agreement? Anybody want to share with us? Let's think about this for a moment. How do you close a sandwich lease option deal? This is just a basic assignment agreement, by the way, guys. Nothing flashy here. Just you're looking at the whole thing. Anybody have ideas on how we can close up a sandwich lease option? Get that back end money. How do we do it? We got a contract. We got a contract with the homeowner, and now we got a contract with the tenant buyer at a higher price. How do we get that money? How do we close them?
You sign the contract that you had with your seller, and you're gonna have them sign that piece of paper, and you're gonna assign your contract to them. They're buying that contract you had with your seller. Is that correct?
Yeah. I'm gonna enter into a purchase and sale agreement with the homeowner. Then I'm going to assign that over to the tenant buyer for the amount of the equity that they would be paying me in the deal. Yep. What is my other option? Is there any other way to close a sandwich lease option besides using an assignment? This isn't a test. Okay. You will go to Google sometimes if you're looking this up, and you'll type in sandwich lease options, how to close the sandwich lease options. And you'll go down the rabbit hole reading some articles, and they'll tell you that you must double close. Do you know what I mean when I say double close? I mean double escrow close. Okay, they'll tell you you have to double escrow close. That means you buy it with money from the homeowner, and then you turn right around and sell it for more to the tenant buyer, and they buy it with money. Double escrow close.
Now, would you have to get a transactional funding for that? To pay the
Yes.
seller?
You would have to get transactional funding, or you'd have to have deep pockets.
Right. So when I'm buying ugly houses, I write up the contract. I write it so I can assign it. I got the loophole so I can back out of it. But I don't put my name on the deed. I mean, on the contract. I make up a land trust. I put the land trust as the buyer, and when I sell it to my investor, I just get him to buy me out of the land trust, and nobody knows nothing. That's what I do.
Yeah, that's a good technique, especially on ugly houses. Yeah. On these pretty houses, though, you're going to have more conventional lenders that the tenant buyers are working with, and it probably wouldn't work for them to buy an LLC or a land trust or something like that. Maybe I'm not sure. To be honest with you, I'd have to look into that. But that's a good question, Vernon.
With regular lenders, that's going to be a little shaky. But when you got people throwing cash around, this is no problem.
Yeah. So on these pretty house deals, these sandwich deals where you're doing a lease option and you're staying in the middle all the way to the end, the articles that you read on Google will tell you that you have to double close, but it's not true. Okay. You don't need to double escrow close these. All you need to do is when the tenant buyer is ready to buy, have your seller and you enter into a purchase and sale agreement, and then you use that assignment agreement that I was just sharing with you, and you assign the deal over to your tenant buyer. They can take it right to the escrow company or the closing attorney, and they know how to put the deal together, and you then become part of the bill.
Right. Okay? Be on the HUD one.
You get on the HUD. Yeah. So that's how you do it without going through needing a transactional funder, without needing all the bull of all that. Okay. So now you might run into some cases. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine, Philip. What you got?
So the seller is privy on what you're doing, right? Because you're letting him know I'm going to sign this contract to the tenant, so he knows.
Yeah. From the very beginning, really. Yeah. So shouldn't be a problem there. If you want to keep it from the seller, then you could do a double close. You could do a double close, a double escrow closing. Keep it from the seller. If you're making a enormous spread,
that's what I was wondering about.
Okay, this may be something you want to consider deeply. My experience has been, depending on who your lender is for the tenant buyer's lender, depending on who the tenant buyer's lender is, there will either be mortgage companies that don't want an assignment at all involved. Okay. There will be some like that. In that case, you may have to double close. Okay. There will be others that the mortgage guy is okay with it. Everybody's okay with an assignment in the situation here. But they don't like that you're making more than 10 grand. Okay. I find that 10 grand is about the limit. I have had, and listen to me, please don't learn this the hard way. I have had mortgage guys. I have had hard money lenders even throw deals out, okay, because I was making too much money. All right. They look at the deal, all the numbers work. They're excited to loan the money, and then they find out, oh my gosh, this guy who is Motu? I'm Mr. Motu, baby. How can I help you? Well, this contract says you're going to be making $35,000 on the sale. I'm not loaning money on that. We're not doing that. Okay, I've had that happen. Okay, I might let you have 15. Okay. I found out really the number is about 10. Okay. If it's 10 or less, assign the deal. If it's more than 10, then think about it. Do a little research with your tenant buyer, find out who they're getting their mortgage through, what kind of loan. Is it conventional or is it some kind of a government backed deal? And then consider maybe I should be doing a double closing. Okay. Most of these you're going to be able to do an assignment though. Okay. But if you're going to be a professional lease options guy, then you're going to need to eventually kind of figure out how to do a double close in the chances, in the cases that you're making a whole lot of money. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah, I've been wondering about that because I suppose everybody's in the room, right? The seller and the buyer, tenant buyer.
No, rarely will they be. No, they will not be in the same room whatsoever. They will just be showing up to the title company probably at separate times.
And we're talking about the, well, yeah, you just do one close. So we're talking about the end of the deal.
Yep. We're talking about the very back end here. Yep. The back end of the deal, when the tenant buyer is going to go buy, you're going to have you're going to need a purchase and sale agreement with you and the homeowner. And then this assignment agreement right here, number 3, that you fill out with your tenant buyer. And then they can take the purchase and sale agreement and the assignment agreement and go to the title company or the closing attorney, just like you would with an ugly house. Does that make sense, Greg?
Not completely, but I don't want to hold everybody up. I'm going to have to figure that out.
Okay, let's break it down real quick. Let's break it down for Greg. There's no shame in that. No dumb questions here, man. Let's break it down, okay? So you have a lease with an option, right?
Right.
With the seller. All right.
Got it.
Now you also have over here with the tenant buyer, you have a lease and then you have an option.
Right.
Okay, 2 separate documents. All right. So the lease, we all understand how leases work. Let's say if it was 24 months or 36 months or what have you, the lease is what it is. It's monthly. So that kind of works itself out in time. Now, the option with the seller, let's say the option with the seller that you had was to buy the house at $100,000 sometime in the next 36 months. Okay. Now you have a lease with the tenant buyer and an option for them to buy it from you at $115,000 sometime in the same term, 24, 36 months. Okay.
Got it.
So there's 15,000 in profits. All right. Now you're in the middle here though. So sandwich Greg in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you get this 15,000? That's the difference between what you owe the seller and what the tenant buyer owes you. Well, you enter into a purchase and sale agreement, okay?
With the seller.
Right. For $100K.
100K.
Okay. Right. Now you've got a tenant buyer that's ready to buy though. So you go to him with your new purchase and sale agreement for $100K and you say, hey, Mr. Tenant Buyer, I want you to sign this assignment agreement. Okay. Where I'm assigning this purchase and sale agreement over to you. Okay. You can see the purchase price for that is $100 grand, but the fee that you're going to pay me, okay, is $15K.
And that's exactly when the buyer's finding out about it. About the 15K.
No. Well, I mean, the buyer doesn't necessarily know how much profit you're making in the deal
Right.
until now. Yeah.
Until now. That's what I meant.
Yeah. I've never had one care though, Greg.
Okay.
Okay. Cause they agreed to this 2 or 3 years ago. You know, me making a profit is a foregone conclusion for them. They believe I'm making money somehow. They might not understand how, but this is how. And
Well,
of course,
typically you've also gotten you got money up front, right?
oh yeah, you got your
Yeah.
upfront money too. Yeah. But this is how you close up the deal here.
Okay.
So you avoid having to do a double closing because you've got this assignment agreement here. And assignments don't cost anything to close. You don't have to have a transactional funder or anything.
So I was late coming in, but as far as the 115K, was that already discussed with the lease?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, he said 3 years, and if you want to buy, it'll be 115 at the end of 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. That's it. So let's run through the scenario real quickly here. We've got paperwork here. We're going to fill out the lease with the option to buy agreement with the seller for 100K. Okay. We're just going to use the same example here for 100K. Let's say it was 100K. Okay. We have borrower's authorization form we could use. Memorandum of option. We're going to file it at the courthouse saying that we have the right to buy this house for 110K, right? That's basically what it's going to accomplish for us. It's going to cloud the title, keep him from selling it to anybody except us and our tenant buyer. Okay. We have an optional amendment to cancel if we wanted to back out, but we're not backing out on this. We're moving straight ahead. Lease agreement with the tenant buyer, just a straight lease agreement. Now, a straight option to purchase agreement at 115K. All this is happening right up front when the tenant buyer is getting ready to move in, where we're qualifying him up and he's getting ready. All these agreements happen right here. Straight option to purchase for 115. Okay. Now, when he goes to buy, when he's ready to qualify at the bank, that's when I get the assignment agreement out, right? I get a purchase and sale agreement with the seller, and I assign it over to the tenant buyer for a $15,000 payout of equity, right? Does this make sense now, guys?
Your numbers are a little off. You got 110K.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm dumb. Hold on. Why am I doing that? Let's do it right. I was saying 100 though, right?
Yeah. Well, first time. Second
Okay.
time 115 or 110.
Okay. So yeah. So you got an agreement with the homeowner for 100K, and then you're going to mark it up on your option agreement to 115K for the tenant buyer. And then when he goes to buy, you're going to get a purchase and sale agreement with the seller for 100, right? And then you're going to assign that to the tenant buyer for 15K. That's going to be paid out to you at closing.
So you get your pay of the 15 only at the end.
Of that equity, yes. That's the back end. Okay, but you remember in a sandwich lease option, you're still going to collect a non-refundable option fee up front, cash.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Okay.
Yeah. You're also going to collect a monthly spread between he's going to pay more rent than you're paying. So you're going to keep a little monthly. And then you get to the back end by using a purchase and sale agreement with the seller and an assignment agreement with the tenant buyer. That's how you do it. Or you could double close if you want to do it the complicated way.
Could you put a lien on it and have the seller directly sell it to the buyer and your lien is the profit?
That's a good question, man. I'm sure you could. And maybe that memorandum or something like that, or something similar to that memorandum could be used to do that. That sounds to me like it would work. I don't know why it wouldn't.
I'm just throwing it out there, man. I don't want to go
No,
off down another rabbit hole and all.
No, that's fine, man. Not a problem at all. I think that's a great idea. I love the club here because we have people that with sharp minds like Rick and Greg and all you fellas and gals. And there you go. Maybe a lien would be a way to do it. So see, this is creative real estate. So while I'm showing you one way, I'm telling you that Google will tell you another way, and you can do it that way too. And then Rick interrupts me and says, could you do it this way? And you could do it that way. So I could come up with 3 different courses to sell people on sandwich lease options and how you do it with a special exit strategy. A bunch of people go pay a bunch of money for that, and really it's just smoke and mirrors, because creative real estate, all of it's negotiable. You can figure this out and do it in several different ways. Okay. And not necessarily one way is right or wrong. It's just ways of doing it. But that's how I do it, is I will do an assignment. Okay. Some folks double close. Some people will go maybe put a lien on the property and let it clear off at closing when a closing attorney or title company sends them a check. Okay. Maybe that's how it works. Don't know. Haven't done that yet, but it sounds like it will work. Maybe I'll try that one, see if that works, man. I'm interested. You've intrigued me now, because that's a pretty cool idea.
Justin,
Yeah.
did you tell us, I think I heard you say, if it's more than 10,000 on the back end, it's probably going to be a problem to the lender, or it could be a problem to the lender. So do you have a work around that?
No.
So about 10 is you feel is the limit.
Yeah.
Unless you do a double close.
Double closing is the only way to work around that, except maybe Rick's idea now. That idea might really work, Rick. I don't know. We'll have to check up on that and do a sandwich lease options 2.0.
Yeah, because a lien can be any amount, right? And it's probably not going to be very questionable. So.
And it could be for whatever, you could be the dentist, or you could be, the guy that trims the hedges, or who knows why, but their liens go on properties for loads of reasons.
Mechanics.
Something to think about, Greg. There you go.
So there you go. Yeah. And it probably wouldn't be very hard to file one. I mean, could probably cost you $60, and boy, would that sure cloud the title. You wouldn't have to do your memorandum or notice of option. You know what I mean? Because you've already clouded the title with a lien, which is even more, or just as stringent, maybe. I don't know what the word is.
Lien's pretty powerful.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty powerful.
Yeah. Now, just a side note, if you file a notice of option at the courthouse and your tenant buyer goes to buy, they're going to do the first thing they're going to do at the title company or their closing attorney is they're going to run title check, and they're going to schneik in their pants. Okay. Because they're going to see that someone here has clouded the title for X amount of thousands of dollars, or we can't see what the number is, but there's a cloud on the title. Uh-oh, we got to clear this up before it can be bought or sold. That's you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get the phone call that says, we got a problem, there's something clouding the title, we don't know what's going on, we're going to have to figure it out. Hey, it's you. Remember, you filed a notice of option, a memorandum. So that's you. That
you tell him that? You tell him that?
If you remember to, or you can give them all a good fright. You know what I mean?
Oh boy.
But you'll have to release that before they'll be able to clear it up and make the deal work. And that's exactly what you wanted it to do.
Mm-hmm.
It protected you in the deal. It kept anyone from doing it without you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's why you do that. So it's been a good session tonight. I feel like there's loads of questions about sandwich lease options. If you guys are interested in a Q&A on this topic, we can pick this up maybe tomorrow at the noon Central Time Q&A, and we'll try to clear up some of the points maybe that you missed or you weren't clear on, or maybe I wasn't clear on. And we'll tag that in there. If you guys want, just let me know. Okay. Going once, going twice. Never mind. All right, guys and gals. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm gonna put the links to the sandwich lease options advanced agreements package, what we just looked at tonight. I'm gonna put that in the VIP Facebook group. I'm also going to email it to Mag. And I'm going to put the subject to stuff in there too in a different post. 2 posts. So you guys can check that stuff out. If you're unclear on this stuff, just jump up in that folder, kind of go through it a little bit, and maybe it'll start making sense to you. Because I'm here to tell you, I was confused about it too, until I just forced myself to sit down and go through it until I understood what I was looking at. Okay. It's a pain in the rumpus. It's a learning curve for sure, but it is the objective is to get these papers filled out. So it's important that you know the end of the game before you start playing it, what the objective is. So, you know, familiarize yourself with that. It's okay. This is what I use with the seller. Okay. So then, yeah, this is what I use with the buyer. Okay. And then you can go back and watch this too, if you need to, or hit me up in the Facebook group. If you guys are at this point in a deal and you're like, man, I don't know what to do. Assignment, double close, liens. How do I work it? Put it in the group. We would all love to give you our 2 cents and help you out with any advice we have. Okay.
Quick question.
Yeah.
When it comes to recording the liens remotely, when we're, you know, obviously nowhere near a lot of these locations, how are you doing that? What's your process? Are you getting somebody to record it, you know, boots on the ground? How are you doing that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I don't do it remotely personally.
You
So
only do it for your stuff in your local area?
Yes, personally, I do sandwich lease options in my local area. And I do assignment lease options outside my local area. Okay.
Oh, when were you going to tell us that? No,
I think I said that like in the first 5 minutes of the very first.
No,
that was the first thing I said when I was born.
That's good stuff. That's it. That's important. Yeah. All right. Cool.
So honestly, I don't know. I wish I could tell you how you're going to file a. You know, I would guess just calling the clerk in the county and asking them if you can email one in, or if there's an online site where you can file record a document. I don't know. Yeah. And I'm sure every municipality is different.
Okay.
But I choose to do them locally, so I just don't know, to be honest with you. If somebody knows.
I'm sure they're very remote friendly with this current virus situation anyway.
Yeah.
That might be true. Yeah.
I'm sure.
If they weren't before, they probably have figured out a way to do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably as simple as put it in an envelope, a copy of your notice or memorandum of notification, and then like a check. I don't know. It might be that simple. Yeah. I have no idea. Yeah. I've never asked, but that's a great question. So I wish I was the guy that knew everything.
You know enough, bro.
Hey, I appreciate it, guys. I love you. Have a great night. Be blessed. If you have anything you want to talk about sandwich-wise, you know where to find us. We'd love to talk about sandwiches. Sandwiches make a lot of money. Don't let it scare you off because it's new. Okay? It's not hard. It's just different. Think about it. It's not difficult, just different. So get over the difference of it. Get used to it. Get comfortable with it. Okay? Mag, there's assignment lease options. That's what you've been looking at. And then there's sandwich lease options. So there's 2 different strategies here. Kind of get the portfolios of paperwork on your computer in places where you know where which is which. Kind of organize your business up here. Like, okay, I want to do a sandwich lease option. That's this. Okay, no, I think I want to do just assign this one over. Okay, so these are the paperwork that I'm going to use for this. Okay, that's what I do, guys. It's real simple. Sounds silly just saying it like that, but you know, simplicity. It's the beauty of life.
No more questions.